This changes everything for the Phoenix Suns as Kevin Durant is still on the trade block and teams are still calling about him, with another trade falling down in the NBA landscape today involving one of the Suns' first round picks. What does that have for the involvement of that team potentially being interested as a surprise team for the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, and or what does that say for the Suns in looking to get back assets for a Kevin Durant deal as well? We'll be diving in and exploring all of that, plus some more updates from Shams Charania on Kevin Durant's preferred trade destinations, all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and I want to say shout out to you guys and thank you guys so much for your support over these last couple of days. Once again, you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love on the channel, letting us know down below in the comment section your guys' ultimate thoughts. And with this news kind of coming through with Desmond Bane being traded today to the Orlando Magic, it's only going to start heating up for the Phoenix Suns and their involvements with Kevin Durant and finding a partnership to get a deal done either today or potentially even early this week. So we're going to dive in and explore all of that on this episode. Like I said, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let's grab that snack and let's get into it. As it's heating up across the NBA landscape here, like I just mentioned, as multiple teams are getting involved in some big time deals. And like I mentioned, we saw the first domino really fall through today from Shams Charania, which was the Grizzlies and the Magic having a trade, sending Desmond Bane to the Magic for 4 first-round picks, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and Cole Anthony. Now, if you want to look at this trade, discuss this trade, go watch my video on Swish City where I broke it down ultimately. But for the Magic here, they get a shooter scorer that they need. Maybe give it up a little bit much in value if you really do want to think that. But I ultimately do think 2 of those first-round picks don't hold value as they're Orlando's 20 and 30. But one of those picks that was traded alongside a pick swap was the 2026 Phoenix Suns first-round pick. And that has some high value out on their open market, because the Suns really have uncertainty on what path or direction they're really going to be at next season. And with the Grizzlies also, considering what they're going to do next, they're going to trade Ja Morant. Will they trade Jaren Jackson Jr.? Will they really kind of keep these guys together? Will they try to kind of bottom out and go towards the bottom? There's a lot of questions to be asked about this Grizzlies team. Now, personally, I don't think they should go out and bottom out. I think kind of building around this core is key, but with them holding that Suns first round pick, who knows? Maybe they're interested trading a guy like Ja Morant for those Suns first-round picks, or maybe they're willing to try to get into this Kevin Durant sweepstakes by making this move and trying to lure a guy like Kevin Durant over to Phoenix for one of those picks and some salary fillers, or one of their players that they do have on the roster that they're looking to try and trade. I know that the Suns would definitely entertain something revolving around Jaren Jackson Jr. if that were the case, and I know Suns fans as well would be very excited to see that type of piece come over on into Phoenix. But it's ultimately up to Kevin Durant and the Suns to really figure out what is the best for them in that regard. But with Desmond Bane going for this high of a value, even though he is younger than Kevin Durant, that means that the Suns will not get completely robbed on a KD deal and should be getting more than what even I expected to be getting back in these deals, right? If Desmond Bane is going for some salary filler guys, like I mentioned, KCP and Cole Anthony, both pretty solid, but KCP was signed to be that 3-and-D wing for Orlando, really failed to do that this season. Maybe they had to attach an extra first-round pick to kind of get off that contract, and using a guy in Cole Anthony as well as another salary filler isn't the worst for Orlando. They still have some of these younger contracts, and they still have some flexibility to decline some team options to give them some room underneath the second apron to have some breathing room to sign some free agents or make some other draft selections. So I do think it is kind of keen for that, but for Kevin Durant, I think that this raises the price for the Suns, and I think this is good for the Suns that a trade went down that wasn't them, right? That Kevin Durant wasn't the first domino to fall out there on the trade market, because I do now believe that with this news, you can use that to beef up these offers for Durant and try to get more out of some of these teams that are interested. As we mentioned with Shams Charania multiple times, there have been 6 to 8 teams that he has rumored or talked about that have been interested in all of this news, and we know that some of them might have better packages and the Suns might be more inclined to do that. But we do know from Shams Charania yesterday, which if we missed this, definitely want to check this out, that Durant had 2 preferred destinations from The Athletic, which was the Spurs and the Rockets, and then Shams came and dropped this bomb, adding the Miami Heat there as well. Everyone kind of thought that this was the Kevin Durant trade, and who knows, maybe we'll see this graphic tweeted out once again later today revolving around a KD deal. But ultimately, in my opinion, this kind of makes sense. He has said that the Heat he would like to go to because they're in the Eastern Conference and it's a nice city, nice weather. Also, the Texas teams are kind of the two teams in the West that have that upside to, if they add Kevin Durant, to really swing up on an upwards trajectory. And with Durant being on an expiring $7 million deal next season, the Suns have made it clear to the 6 to 8 teams that are seriously interested in him that they will make the best deal for this franchise, even if it is outside of this preferred list of Miami, San Antonio, and Houston. But they are listening, and they are kind of getting out of all of it. Now, Brett Siegel had this from yesterday. He doesn't know the actual 8. Reported the Heat, Rockets, Spurs, Timberwolves, and Raptors have all had calls with these teams. With the Suns, I know Mark Stein mentioned as well, or it was Brian Windhorst, excuse me, not Mark Stein. We'll get into Mark Stein in a little bit. Brian Windhorst also mentioned earlier today that the Clippers and the Raptors mentioned a team, so I think it's those 6. Maybe Atlanta is 7 because they've been mentioned, and then who knows? Maybe there's a surprise team like Denver or Boston looking, maybe even it's Memphis looking to shed some salary and really get in underneath, but those are the teams that I would expect to be having discussions revolving around Durant. But like I mentioned, with all this new news, it is key to now know that Durant prefers that these 3 teams he does go to. But we have another update as well from Mark Stein right before we started recording from his latest Substack, saying that the Knicks would have been the 4th team in the Kevin Durant's preferred trade destination list out of the 5, making Minnesota the last choice out of those 5, but the Knicks decided against trading for him. On Houston, the greater interest in a Durant to Houston deal has always been on the Suns' side. Therefore, the Suns would like to trade Durant there. I believe Durant would be interested in there. I don't think Houston is as inclined to trade for a guy like Durant because, once again, they want Devin Booker. They feel that trading Jalen Green for Devin Booker is the fit that they both need to do, but the Suns are reluctant to trade Devin Booker, so that's where those kind of questionable calls really get in, because the Rockets are like, we'll take him, but that's not the guy we necessarily want. Then they want to give them less value. The Suns feel like they're not getting enough value for Durant, and that's where the talks have been stalling. But sources say that the Suns are not promising to send KD to any of his preferred destinations, as we mentioned in yesterday's video, right? Or in yesterday's tweet from Shams Charania, like he mentioned, and they are open to a mutual beneficial trade to the Spurs, Rockets, or Heat if they end up liking their return, but it appears Phoenix is prepared to make the best deal it can. And I like that for Phoenix. Ultimately, I have said on the channel, you want to do best for both parties, and that's why I think this is taking a little bit longer, because obviously, Kevin Durant, he is a great NBA player, one of the best across NBA history, and from the modern ones that I've been able to see as a scorer, and truly does deserve to go to a team that's going to put him in the right direction. Now, ultimately, with the no trade clause, the Suns don't have to take whatever Kevin Durant wants. They should take the best offer, but the Suns should still try to use that leverage of those teams that Kevin Durant doesn't want to go to try to get a team that he is willing to go to give him an offer that is very close, or one that they feel is willing to accept to benefit both parties. And I think that's where it ultimately lies with the Phoenix Suns. I truly think, even after everyone says they try to screw Kevin Durant and trade him at the deadline, which they ultimately did by trading him to a team in Golden State that he did not want to go to, and that's why Golden State blocked those trades, because they didn't want to trade for a guy that wasn't going to want to be there. I do believe that the Suns and Kevin Durant want to mutually agree on this, and that's why it's taking so long. I do believe that if the Spurs, the Heat, or that Rockets team gives the Suns a package that is close to a Minnesota or close to one of these other teams, it will happen. And who knows, maybe Durant is a rental for one season, and then we see him enter free agency and really make his decision going to one of those squads who can still add him with not having to give up that draft capital. It makes it a little bit easier for them in the long run. But ultimately, I do expect a trade for Durant to kind of come through in these next couple of days. It's going to be exciting to see where he ultimately ends up, because truly, I could not tell you, once again, where he goes, right? If I had to make my bet, I would say it would be one of those preferred 3 destinations, but I would not count out the Minnesota Timberwolves, because I do think that they have been the most aggressive team with the Phoenix Suns in trying to get a deal done, and the only thing that is hindering or blocking that deal from going through is Durant does not want to go there, and the Suns know that he does not want to go there. If Durant wanted to go there, I do believe that this deal would have already been completed, and if not, the Suns would have tried in every which power to try to do that. So once again, I do think that they'll consider that Timberwolves package, but unless one of those other packages gets close to it or maybe even beats that package, We might ultimately end up seeing Durant not go to a preferred destination, even though that's what I would like to see for him, because I do think the Rockets and the Spurs give him the best chance of kind of competing next year and also for the future as well. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys ultimately think down below on Kevin Durant in this whole trade scenario. What do you think the value is for Durant now that Desmond Bane has also been traded away from this Phoenix Suns or from the Memphis Grizzlies? And I appreciate all your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.